So getting started. The way you start seeking compensation for your vaccine injury is by filing a petition with the Federal Court of Claims in Washington, D.C. Through that petition, you set forth your claim. You say what vaccine you believe injured you, when you got that vaccine. You describe what types of injury you sustained. And you set forth kind of your allegations as to why you believe you're entitled to compensation. As part of that vaccine petition, you gather up all supporting documentation, and you have to file that with the petition. Typical things that are needed to support such a claim is definitely medical records. You're going to rely on medical records to demonstrate that you did, in fact, have a vaccine injury. Could be something as though affidavits from loved ones and the petitioner, him or herself, saying that this is kind of the sequence of events, this is how things went. These are things that happened after the vaccine. You might also have medical journal articles that help support your claim that vaccine A could result in syndrome or symptoms B in the petitioner. A bunch of different stuff you got to put together. But when you file a petition, you gather all that stuff up and you file it along with the petition. Upon receipt, then your claim or petition is assigned to an attorney that is in Washington, D.C. That attorney is called the respondent. The respondent will review all of the material, review the petition, see what your claims are, and after doing that complete review, determine whether or not the respondent believes that compensation is warranted. Depending on whether the respondent believes that compensation is warranted, it goes a couple different ways. But basically, after they've done their analysis, they're going to file a report that sets forth what their thoughts are. If they believe compensation is warranted, well, that's great. The next phase is to gather evidence of damages. You get all that evidence together, you hand it over to the respondent, and you say, this is what damages I've incurred as a result of this adverse reaction, and you try to get something negotiated. Try to get something done so your claim can be wrapped up and you can be appropriately compensated. On the other hand, and this is pretty common, if the respondent says that compensation is not warranted, then you have to go and do some additional work. You have to look at that report that they filed and see why they believe that compensation is not warranted. And then you have to go get evidence to try to persuade the respondent that you've addressed all their concerns and that, in fact, compensation is warranted. Ultimately, you hope that your claim is ruled compensable. If the respondent and you never agree as to the compensation, ultimately, the special master, like a judge, will review the entire claim and make a determination as to whether or not compensation is to be awarded in that case.